Fox News boss calls for legalizing 40 million illegals. And, of course, he also ordered all of his TV divisions to promote that man-made global warming is real. And we've shown you Fox TV promos promoting that global warming is real and carbon taxes are good. And if you criticize Rupert Murdoch, so-called conservatives send you hate-filled emails saying you're a liar. Okay, well, he's on TV promoting the legalization of 40 million illegal aliens. And you've got to love this doublespeak. Here's CNS News reporting on it. Rupert Murdoch calls for amnesty for law-abiding illegal immigrants. That's like Rupert Murdoch calls for law-abiding child molesters to be released from prison. I mean, what does that mean? Rupert Murdoch calls for amnesty for law-abiding illegal immigrants. So a full court press by the neocons on that front. Also, Texas sheriff, Mexican bandits entered U.S. waters. Just the latest report of piracy on lakes in Texas. And it's also going on in the Gulf of Mexico. There's just a massive increase. It's more than doubled. We've had captains on to report on this. And major international organizations like Interpol admit there's been more than a doubling exponentially in the last 3 years. Every year it's been exponentially doubling each year. In the Gulf of Mexico, piracy. So, no, but local media doesn't tell you, hey, don't take your sailboat down into Mexican waters. You're going to get robbed by federales, and they're going to kill you and your wife and kids and throw you overboard and then go sell your boat, because that's who the pirates are in most cases. No. They're just going to send you right on down there to get killed. And then it's just, where'd the Browns go? Or where'd the Changs go? Or where'd the Swartzes go? Oh, we don't know. Their sailboat showed up 6 months later, repainted with new serial numbers, but, it got sold at an auction in Miami, but whoop-de-doo, they're dead, See, the globalists ignore all the real carnage that's going on, and then they hype up imaginary stuff like, one guy shot himself at UT on Monday. Well, the Texas legislature better not legalize concealed carry on Texas campuses, which statistically, all the evidence has shown, over 20% reductions in crime on average. So what? So what if it actually makes us safer? We better cancel the speech by Professor John Lott at the UT Law School that night, conveniently, on the 28th, because after all, talking about guns could cause violence. Don't even talk about guns in America. So that's coming up. Now, if you think that's insane, tyranny and treason, of course, he's not even an American, so what do you expect from old Rupert, the fake conservative Murdoch? Here's one. Feds use pre-crime to target disgruntled veterans. We told you about how they just admit, yeah, we're listening to all your phone calls, reading all your email, everything you do, and they're having law enforcement seminars all over the country, and the federal government just plunked $153 million down on this. I saw that in the news this morning. To run everything you do through a database and give the local police access to it. Bet they'll have fun with that. And if you criticize the government, well, you're in deep trouble. Here's just a quick blurb on one of the main modes of banning and restricting free speech in Europe and in Canada, and they're trying to push this same model here. UK government passes law where anyone who claims to have been offended can sue. If you're just offended, even if you're not talking about somebody, but they don't like what you say and it's offensive to them, they can sue you. And we see this being introduced in public schools. Every day or two I see articles. In fact, I saw one last week where it's over a year later, and this middle school student who was an A+ student is still suspended in the school district, expelled completely, because they brought a 1-inch toy gun with their G.I. Joe action figure to school. Remember that? Still suspended, expelled a year later. It's a thought crime. It's offensive. It's scary. We've got to have the UT Law School ban and cancel the speech of Professor John Lott talking about more guns, less crime, which is a statistical fact. There it is. Child still expelled for toy gun a year later. Parents want their child back in school. School board says, no way, Jose. There is the headline on screen for PrisonPlanet.tv viewers. I want to get into Fox News boss Murdoch calls for legalizing 40 million illegals. Feds use pre-crime to target disgruntled veterans. As we continue to just point out to anybody joining the military, anybody in the military, that you are hated and surveilled by this government. Almost all of their spying and surveillance is targeting gun owners, landowners, conservatives, libertarians, but of all those groups, veterans. And I want to go over Paul Watson's article on this because it's excellent, and we want to get this story out to everyone who's in the military. Also, we posted up on the YouTube Alex Jones channel the interview we did with Dr. Doug Rockey yesterday, the former head of the Army's DU program, about how if you ingest or breathe nano amounts, just microscopic amounts of DU, it's going to shave many years off your life and debilitate you and kill you. And many troops are just inhaling masses of this, and they've gone, of course, from admitting it's deadly to just saying it's fine. So what if there's a 15 times increase in cancers in Fallujah? So what if there's a 3 to 4 times increase in the troops and their children, the deformities, the cancers? It's no big deal. We're going to use it. And it just shows the mindset of how we just accept this. So that's coming up in the next segment. Here is the top story at prisonplanet.com and Infowars.com. And if you know any veterans, if you are in the military, if you have family in the military, if you've got family thinking about joining the military, you need to understand that there is a concerted, across-the-board effort going back decades, but really heating up under Clinton, to put hundreds of thousands of veterans on mentally ill list, saying that they've got mental problems so that you can't buy guns. And they do. This is on record. Expanded under Clinton, exploded under Bush, and now has gone supernova in its growth under Barack Hussein Obama. Mr. Barry Soetoro. And so this is a continuity of agenda. This is ongoing. And we would get the federal reports decades ago saying the main focus of the FBI and counterterrorism is veterans, and then down the list, gun owners, conservatives, libertarians, people that want us out of the UN, people that support Ron Paul. I mean, you've literally seen the hundreds of reports on it. We've put out well over 100 reports ourselves. There's been hundreds of mainstream media reports on it, but they're always, well, maybe it's a good idea. Veterans could be violent, especially if they don't like the Federal Reserve. Boy, have you got a Ron Paul sticker on your car. I remember Major Law Enforcement magazine 9 years ago. I was in a 7-Eleven, bought it. It was what, Law Enforcement Technology? Then I bought another copy one time. It was like SWAT magazine, I'm going from memory. I showed them here on air. And it was like, do they have a get us out of the UN sticker? Better go ahead and pull them over. And it actually said in one of the articles, go ahead and take them in for questioning, even if nothing illegal is found. And police chiefs, support your officers when they do this. And then now you see the MIAC and Homeland Security reports, and now the Israeli company hired by Pennsylvania Homeland Security to spy on members of the legislature, gun groups. I mean, you know about that. You know about all that. But it's so diabolical that it's on record. I mean, I see this every week in the news, and vets call in. They'll have DU exposure. They'll have shrapnel in them. They'll have a heart attack. They go in to get health care, and the VA says, okay, we're going to be able to give you this surgery you need, but you've got to agree and sign that you've got PTSD to give you this disability listing you need to get this medical care and to get your medicines paid for. And then a month later, they go to buy a gun, or they go to buy one for their grandson, and they can't buy a gun. There's no judge. There's no jury. It's just been put in the FBI database. And you got Rahm Emanuel about to leave the White House, become the new Chicago boss, mob boss. You know, here in America, the mob bosses are run whole cities. I mean, just publicly. You've got him saying, look, if we think you might be a terrorist, in fact, pull up that clip. If we think you might be a terrorist, no judge, no jury, no evidence, you go on a terrorist watch list, and you can't buy a gun. If we think maybe you could possibly be a terrorist, that's a quote. If we think maybe you could possibly be a terrorist, if we think you could be possibly a terrorist, no gun for you. You lose your Second Amendment. That's a quote. I've played it so many times I can quote it to you verbatim. Or you can just search the term White House Chief of Staff Emanuel, no fly, no buy. So they're saying if they put you on the secret no-fly list or any of these other databases, you just can't have a gun. No judge, no jury, no due process. You can't find out why. And now they're announcing, oh, yes, the no-fly list is going nationwide to jobs and employment and everything. That if you're on a list, you're not going to get your welfare check. You're not going to get your disability check. You're not going to, I mean, this is how they're trying to scare everybody. And then they introduce the legislation, no fly, no buy. And then now Obama is back in the news today. I've actually got it in my internet stack saying, well, even if we can't pass these laws, we're going to implement this. And without having a law, Obama, even if he doesn't pass the Cybersecurity Act, he's saying the government will order ISPs to shut down your website because somebody up in some shadowy bureaucracy says that that's the way to go. Let's go ahead and play that video before I get into this article. Here's Rahm Emanuel.
Take it into the election. That is, if you are on the no-fly list because you are known as maybe a possible terrorist, you cannot buy a handgun in America. And I am not one far from liking the mixing of politics and policy, but as my old boss used to say, give me that vote and throw me into that briar patch. I'll make politics out of that every day, because if it's between that terrorist list and the NRA, I know where America is going to be every time, and they're going to make the right choice, and we have got to start building on that. That is the right thing to take into the election, and it's the right policy. If you're on that no-fly list, your access to the right to bear arms is canceled because you're not part of the American family.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I played the last part. I cut it off at the real zinger. You're not part of the American family because we put you on a secret list right out of 1984, right out of East Germany. Here it is.
America is going to be every time, and they're going to make the right choice, and we have got to start building on that. That is the right thing to take into the election, and it's the right policy. If you're on that no-fly list, your access to the right to bear arms is canceled because you're not part of the American family. You don't deserve that right. There is no right for you if you're on that terrorist list. That should be number one in what we do. Make sure there's a full force of the law behind the Brady Bill. So to all those who dedicate their lives to being...
So, I mean, I just wanted to play that in case some of you are new listeners and thought I was making that up. Now, they have the legislation in, but they don't care. Let me explain. The major veteran organizations are completely run by the feds, and they will not organize the veterans of this country to say, you know what, you're not putting me on a secret list to not be able to buy a gun. They've been doing this since Clinton. But now they're doing it to, I mean, the calls have had to increase 15, 20-fold. And the news articles about people who go and they just say, sorry, you're on a list, you can't own a gun, but I've done nothing wrong. Or it's like, it's standard operating procedure, even though the courts have ruled it's unconstitutional, that a woman goes out to get a divorce. It also happens to women as well. Men are now doing this. And their lawyer files a restraining order, and a judge will issue one, you know, if